Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling something that, let's be honest, gives almost everyone sweaty palms just thinking about it. The salary negotiation. You know the drill, right? Your heart is pounding out of your chest right before you walk into that room or hop on that call to ask for what you're actually worth. For decades, the conventional wisdom has basically been stay calm, stay cool, because if you're stressed, you're going to blow it. We are told that stress just absolutely ruins our bargaining power. But what if everything we've been taught about negotiation anxiety is just flat out wrong? Today, we're going to scientifically bust the myth that stress destroys your performance, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use your own biology to your advantage. So let's start with a super relatable question. Does a racing heart actually mean you are blowing the negotiation? Most of us just naturally assume that if our physiological arousal spikes, like if we start sweating or getting the jitters, our cognitive performance is just going to plummet. We think the other person can practically smell the fear on us and that we'll end up caving for a lower offer. It's a huge common assumption that anxiety is inherently detrimental to performance, especially in a high-stakes setting where every single word counts. Okay, let's dive into this. Remind yourself that your anxiety could be helping you do well. Imagine someone telling you that right before you step into a tense salary discussion. Well, this isn't just some fluffy motivational poster. This exact instruction was handed to a specific group of participants in a really fascinating scientific study that fundamentally challenges how we view stress. That instruction actually comes from a brilliant 2016 study published in PLOS One, led by Modupe Akinola and her research team. They really wanted to dig into the intersection of biology and psychology during a negotiation. So they brought in a final sample of 97 male and female university students to test how actual biological stress interacts with our psychological mindset. And the key here is they weren't just asking, hey, how stressed do you feel? They wanted to see what the body was literally doing and whether changing someone's perspective on that stress could actually alter their financial outcome. To get that genuine biological measurement, the researchers turned to cortisol. Now, you probably know cortisol. It's the catabolic hormone your body naturally pumps out via the HPA axis whenever you face physical stress, psychological stress, uncertainty, or a social evaluative threat, which, honestly, perfectly describes a job interview. By tracking cortisol, the team didn't have to rely on self-reported feelings of nervousness, which can be pretty flaky. They had a cold, hard, biological metric of exactly how stressed these participants' bodies actually were during the exercise. The methodology they used here is beautifully simple but so effective. Let me walk you through it. First up, participants provided a baseline saliva swab to measure their resting cortisol. Number two, they got specific instructions about the upcoming negotiation. We'll get to those in just a second. 3, they went into a room and negotiated a starting salary with a corporate recruiter. And finally, step 4, they provided a second saliva swab. Crucially, the researchers timed this second swab exactly 15 minutes after the negotiation ended. Why? Because that perfectly captures the physiological stress response right at its peak. Now, step 2 is really where the magic happens. The researchers split everyone into 2 groups. The control condition got your standard role-play prompt. Remember that you are a senior majoring in economics, currently in search of a job. Totally standard stuff. But the appraisal condition, they were given a powerful psychological intervention. They were told, recent research suggests that anxiety doesn't hurt performance and in some cases can help. They were literally instructed to reappraise their anxiety as a beneficial tool that could enhance their focus. The only difference between these 2 groups was just this one simple instruction on how to view their own physiological arousal. And the negotiation itself wasn't just some casual, friendly chat. It was a strict, simulated job negotiation with a confederate, an actor, playing the recruiter. And get this, the actor was an older military veteran with 10 years of corporate experience, making him a pretty intimidating opponent. The parameters were super rigid. The recruiter always started with a lowball offer of $45,000. If the participant pushed back, the recruiter used a strict script to raise the offer in $2,000 increments, up to a maximum possible salary of $57,000 across 6 rounds of offers. On average, these intense little showdowns lasted about 12 minutes. Now, what's really interesting about these numbers is the story they tell from those 12 minutes. For the participants with low cortisol, meaning they just weren't particularly stressed, the instructions didn't make much difference. Actually, the control group did a tiny bit better. But focus on the highly stressed participants. Those who had high cortisol but got no instructions, the control group, they negotiated the lowest average salary of the whole bunch, $48,640. But the folks with high cortisol who were primed to appraise their stress positively, they negotiated the highest average salary overall, $50,486. Let's actually pull that number out for a second, because it represents tangible, real-world impact. $1,846.
That is the average difference in negotiated starting salary between the highly stressed people who thought anxiety was bad and the highly stressed people who were taught that anxiety is a tool. Just by shifting their mindset, that appraisal group turned their physical stress into almost $2,000 in extra starting salary. Compounded over a whole career in the real world, that is a massive financial advantage. Of course, as your explainer host, I always have to ask, was this just a fluke in the numbers? Well, the researchers ran the stats and found an R-squared change of 0.05 with a p-value of 0.04. To put that in plain English, nope, definitely not a fluke. The interaction between the physical stress and the psychological mindset had a statistically significant, totally measurable effect on the final salary outcome. The results are incredibly solid. To dig into the stats just a little more, they uncovered an unstandardized beta coefficient of 14.52. But here's the really crucial takeaway from that specific metric. The researchers observed no main effect of a cortisol increase alone on the negotiation outcome, meaning simply having high stress doesn't automatically mean you win or lose. The magic is in the interaction. That interaction effect between the cortisol spike and the adaptive appraisal was undeniably present and significant. Biology alone isn't destiny, right? It's biology combined with psychology. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we've been talking about. Look at the dashed line representing the control group. As their post-negotiation cortisol goes up, their negotiated salary actually goes down. The stress actively hurt them. But follow the solid black line for the appraisal group. As their cortisol increases, their negotiated salary shoots right up with it. The lines intersect perfectly. This is literal visual proof that high stress, when combined with the right mindset, physically and financially works to your advantage. The researchers summarize this beautifully in their conclusion. They write, cortisol increases may in fact have enhancing properties in negotiations when accompanied by an adaptive appraisal of the emotions. This is just such an empowering takeaway. You absolutely do not need to eliminate your anxiety to succeed. You don't have to be some emotionless robot to get a good salary. You just need to adaptively appraise what your body is doing. Your pounding heart is literally just your body handing you the energy and focus you need to get the job done.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought. The data is clear. The biology is clear. The myth that stress ruins your bargaining power is officially busted. Next time your heart races and your palms sweat before asking for more money, you have a choice. Will you fall back into that old trap of fighting the stress and letting it drag down your performance? Or will you remember this explainer, reappraise that arousal as a biological superpower, and use it to maximize your outcome? The choice, and potentially thousands of dollars, is entirely up to you.